another one. And we thank God for sparing our lives to witness yet another Thursday. And it's a guest platform on your darling program AM Cafe on OSBC TV from all the channels that you are picking our signals from. I want to thank you this morning for joining us. And we believe that what we're going to discuss this morning will be beneficial to all of us, both young and old. My name is Titi Lokwe Ajiboya. My guest in the house this morning is no other person than Dapo Olasode. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm very fine. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Yes, we're looking at choosing a good leader. And we know that here in the state of Osun, our election is coming up, let's just say next week. A few days to go.
Yeah.
And in Nigeria as a whole, we are voting, yes, next year. And I think we need to start the campaign to have the knowledge of how to vote and how to put good leaders on seats. So this morning, if we are looking at choosing a good leader, who is a leader? A good leader.
Okay, who is a leader is different from let me start by saying who is a leader.
Yeah.
A leader is somebody. John C. Maxwell described leadership as influence, but I would say that a leader is somebody who has a vision and knows the path to the actualization of his vision. He has a vision. He knows the path to the vision, and is able to carry people to that vision. So I know where I'm going. I know where I want us to go as a nation, as a state, and I'm able to mobilize man and resource to take the state to where I want the state to be. That's a now. What makes it good or bad is a function of the leader's vision for the state. So that's how I would describe a good leader. When a leader has a good vision for the state and is able to mobilize man, material, and other forms of resource to actualizing the vision he has for the state, that's a good leader.
Thank you very much. As it is now, we want to know why we need to choose a good leader. That's what we are looking at. So you have told us who a leader is and what makes a good or a bad leader. Why is it? Why do we really need to choose someone who is good? Can't we just choose anybody and make that person our leader?
Oh, thank you very much. Especially in the political space. I love democracy because democracy literally places your life in your hands. So we need to choose a good leader because the person we give the aim of affairs to is actually charting the course, not just for the state or for the nation, but for our lives. The stability of the state will impact on our lives positively, and the instability of the state or the nation will impact on our lives negatively. So it's important to choose a good leader because the actions of the leader would impact on our own lives positively or negatively. It will literally chart the course for our lives.
Thank you very much. When we are talking about choosing a leader and why it is important for us to choose a leader, we need to put ourselves too into consideration. The young, the old, women, and whoever is eligible in that space to do the needful. Let's look at youth's involvement when it comes to choosing leaders. I mean, whether good or bad. What are their roles in making sure that we have good leaders on the throne or on seats?
Actually, in any thriving state, by state I mean nation, state or whatever, in any thriving state, the young people they are a pivot. They play a pivotal role in determining what is obtainable because the young has energy. They have strength. And not just physical strength now. An individual's mental strength is in its peak capacity during the time of his youth. So the young man, the youth, they are placed in a strategic position in the timeline to be able to move the nation forward. If you read about the history of developed nations, most of the people who helped facilitate the development, who helped birth these nations, they began the journey in their youth. By 27, Nelson Mandela was already a national figure fighting for a better South Africa, and Lee Kuan Yew, everybody, they all begin the journey in their youth. So the youths are meant to play a very pivotal role. Our elders are to provide guidance, to provide experience, but the drivers of the effort are basically young people.
The drivers of the efforts are basically younger people. But I want to believe that they are channeling this energy towards another thing like thuggery and some other things. Why would they go for that?
I was speaking about an ideal situation. If you take a look at every state that has grown, every country that has moved from third world to first world, Dubai, Malaysia, these Lee Kuan Yew states, South Africa. So all of these states, if you look at the story of how they went from where they were to where they are now, you will see that the young man took. But in Nigeria now, though we cannot take it from the younger people who are driving, who are doing their best to drive, but if we are going to speak as the youth as the majority, I feel because in our nation we have about 60% youth. Of the 60% of our at least 180 million population is youth. But we cannot say that the energies of those full 60% is being galvanized. In fact, I wouldn't want to put an energy, I would say very few.
Okay.
And that's why we don't have the resultant effect that we need to have. As to why they are doing such things, one of the things that has happened is that the youth they have not come to a place where they fully recognize their potential. So we are still allowing ourselves to be victims rather than taking the driver's seat. So there are several issues. People resort to thuggery for so many issues: value orientation, hardships, so many. But the summary of it is we have not come to realize our full potential. We are still held up by allow me to say, mundane things. So that's why our eyes are distracted from the real influence that we can galvanize and bring about change.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dapo Olasode. The program is AM Cafe, and we're on the guest platform on the show this morning. We're looking at choosing a good leader. Recently, you can see there was a summit where Nigerian youths were challenged to make use of that effort of choosing a good leader. That's why we are here this morning to talk about it, especially to our youth out there, even to parents. Yes, because we have a role to play too as parents. What are our roles as parents? And do I now say in educating our children on how to go about this?
That was actually the first thing. When I talked about the youth not being fully aware of their potentials, one major reason is education. One major reason is education. And if I'm going to talk to parents, I speak in different categories. The parents who are in positions of influence and authority, we need to do something very serious about the state of our education. The state of our education. Our education, what kind of education are we giving? Even what we have now compared to what is obtainable in developing nations, they are light years apart from each other. But even what we have now is not being effectively done. A situation where students have been on
strike
at home due to ASU strike for upwards of 4 or 5 months now is not good. It doesn't help the student come to a point where he's fully aware. So while I speak of education, that's just one part of it. There's an education that does not come from the four walls of the school. So the parent needs to expose the children to the right kind of education. And one education I feel that is really lacking amongst us is the education about political opinions. Most of us know next to nothing about governance and politics. And I'm not talking about how to contest elections now. I'm talking about the real running of the state. Because you can't pick a good leader unless you know how the state is run. It's when you know how a state is run that you can use that knowledge to gauge potential candidates. Most of us really don't know how the state is run. I'll give an example. I was speaking with a person many years ago, and he just educated person. He just arbitrarily said, "Why can't the minimum wage be 50,000 naira?" And I shouted. I was like, "What? Do you know the amount of inflation that will result from injecting that much fund into the economy at once?" He said, "Yes, now inflation what now?" I'm like, "Are you for real?"
He doesn't understand what
He doesn't understand the implication. So we need to be more exposed to governance and political processes so that we understand how these things run, so that we are able to effectively pick who leads us.
Who leads us. Yes, while talking about parents educating their children or their words, what about the poor parents? What do you expect from them to tell their children how to choose? These days that what we need is money.
Yeah. Part of the education that parents can give, there's an education that comes with money. That was why I was trying to separate between formal education and semi-formal, informal setting. So by education, I'm not talking restricted to money. Even though people don't have money, we need to, at home, we can be educated about the right values to look forward to in a leader. And one of the most important forms of education that the parent can give to a child is example. Is example. So you show by example what you value. And a child picks up that and knows that this is what is valued. So we need to see the parents begin to show a different value than we have right now. So because we are going to learn from the parents what values to look out for in a good leader. Leadership is a parenthood is powerful. Because psychologists will say that a child is born tabula rasa, which is Latin for clean slate. He doesn't know anything about leadership. He doesn't know anything about values as it comes to the world. But it is the values that he watches the parents demonstrate that he primarily grows up with until he gets to a point where he or she can internalize. So even though a parent is not very rich, you can demonstrate the right values. So much so that a child is used to certain value, the right values, so much that he has become alien to crazy stuff. There are certain things that I can't even dream of being involved in. And it's a product of the kind of values I saw demonstrated at home. So it's important. That's where, in fact, that's a major fulcrum of the challenge that we have as young people. We need a shift from the current values we now hold dear, and we need some of these values we need to be able to emulate them from the elder generation.
Wow, thank you very much. We need to emulate them from the elder generations. Let me take you back to schools. Sometimes is it this year or so? All of this year, you see all these young children vying for the post of the prefect of schools. They came about talking about, and people felt that wow, this is interesting. Let's look at that and bring it into the society. If those children can at that stage start something like that, I believe that their mates at that level will see one or two qualities in them. Those qualities that they saw in them will allow them pick them as the senior prefect that they really wanted to be. As those little ones are doing now, what if they get older and some other things somewhere, some people somewhere corrupt their mind? What happens to the society?
That's in essence what we've been trying to say. It's a very good one. When I saw it, I actually saw a video online of a child, and it was a good one. It's a great way to introduce the democratic process to the young one and get the young one to come into a place of a better understanding of the democratic process. And this is important. I've observed that one major difference between a developed and a developing nation is that the people in developing nations, they have a more robust understanding of the democratic process. They understand politics and governance a lot better. So if we introduce it to them at that age, is very good. But we also need and you know that there's a limit to what you can introduce to a child at that age. We need a semi-structured system of information that the child gets introduced to greater, deeper things, the right values as they continue to grow. Values are key because it is values determine how we interact with events, how we interact with the information we get. So at that point, the innocence of a child is not going to think of certain malpractices. But if he grows up in an environment where some of those malpractices are encouraged, you understand? And a good litmus test that is worrisome sometimes is some of the things that happen when SUGs are having their elections. You'll be like, man, if this, at the level of a high institution, if this is what's going to happen, these guys doing this at this level are the ones that are going to come and evolve into the politicians of the next level. And the elders say that third degree covetousness is armed robbery. So if this is happening right now, we can extrapolate and safely conclude that it will be a lot worse. So as we begin the journey, we need to ensure that the journey is not truncated or misdirected along the line. And this requires deliberate, considered effort. We cannot leave this to chance. It's an integral part of raising a new Nigeria, because I'm a strong believer in the fact that a new Nigeria would only arise when we have new Nigerians. When we have a new breed of Nigerians who think differently, who observe differently, who have different values from the current values we are displaying as a nation right now. Because truth be told, if we continue this way, we would always get this result that we're getting. We need a shift, and a shift primarily starts with the mind. So the environment, the parents, the students themselves, everyone saddled with building up the mental capacity and the emotional and spiritual capacity of young people are saddled up with an assignment.
Thank you.
Yes.
You know that there has been so many groups, like you said, saddled up with assignments. A lot of groups have been saddled with such assignments, making sure that these younger minds are educated in the right path. They are put in the right path when it comes to becoming leaders and choosing good leaders. But all these efforts, where has it gotten us?
Well, we are still on the journey. I think we're still on the journey.
We are still on the journey.
We definitely need to move at a faster pace.
At a faster pace.
Yeah, we do definitely need to move at a faster pace. Because one thing I have observed with the world is that the world is getting quite faster. You can't. A few years back, information doubled in any sphere, in any industry in about 6 months.
Yeah.
It's a lot shorter right now. So much so that if you are not constantly upgrading yourself, you can become obsolete very quickly. So we definitely need to move at a faster pace. What we have done is yielding a little bit sparks of results.
Okay.
Because now at least we can say that youth engagement and involvement in the democratic process is increasing.
Okay.
And we are beginning to see the dynamism, the energy that the young man brings to. You know, the end SARS protest may have been polluted by several things. Other young people with a different agenda may have come in, and there are a lot of things that happened around that time. I don't want to
Mention
take
those
too
things.
much of a position, but what I wanted to bring out is that the NSAS project, the coordination, the effectiveness, the doggedness demonstrated by that protest, is proof that when the young people fully come to an understanding of their vantage position, they can galvanize all their resources to a very effective use. I mean, because you can say everything about the NSAS protest, there's one thing you won't be able to say: it was well done.
Yeah, it was, and we felt that there was unity.
So we need a lot more to be done. The people involved in galvanizing these young minds, we need to do more. Understanding that, and it's not just about doing more; it's deliberate action. You know, deliberate action, not leaving anything to chance. Understanding that this exact thing we are doing it for this purpose, and this is what we hope to achieve.
I want to thank God that we have youths who sees what you're saying, and who we know that in the nearest future will bring us a new Nigeria. Since you said we need new Nigerians to bring out a new Nigeria, we pray that it happens. We'll get there one day.
Yeah.
Let's look at what the Godfathers are doing in electing a good leader. They want they want to have their ways by all means, and say, this is who we want, or this is who I want here, and I'm putting him on this seat, whether you like it or not. And we have some people who would say, no, let's go through due process. Let's do this, let's do that. But you see, the Godfathers, because they have the money, they have the influence, they have everything that they need to put someone there, they feel that whatever they say goes. What do we now say to this? How do we go about it when we have someone who wants to, by fire, by force, put someone where we feel that we need to elect another person or choose another person and put him on that seat, same seat?
Wow, you have asked a question that my position differs a bit from the norm. What we call godfatherism in the political space is a synonym for mentorship. And it's a synonym not just for mentorship but for sponsorship. I watched a video, a TED talk of a woman who said she realized the value of a sponsor, not a mentor this time, but a sponsor, somebody who in the corridors of influence that you don't have power to can say, I vouch for this person.
Okay.
That's so mentorship. So godfatherism in politics is not necessarily a bad thing. The elders say, I wish I could translate it, but the elders say, Omo leleru obaje. One importance of mentorship of godfatherism in the political space is that there's an informal check and balance on the person in power. There's somebody that if anybody disagrees with him, if there's a problem, there's somebody that he can be spoken to. This person. So now there are two issues involved here. On one hand is the issue of the godfather imposing somebody. On the other hand is the issue of the eligible people understanding how to interact with the generation that has gone ahead. You understand? There is a posture that gives you that a young man can take that grants him the approval of the elder generation. The elders say, Tomodeba Mowowe. Abagbaja. So sometimes the godfathers, the mentors, let's call them that, they may take it too far in their enforcing a particular candidate. But let's look at something. This mentor probably has spent his whole life in the political space, is passionate about the new Nigeria and is passionate about new Nigeria. Nobody spends 30 years of his life on a project and wants it to die with him. So he understands that as at one point he has to bow out. He also understands the requirements of sustainability of the project that he's doing. So there is something he's looking for in the person that he will willingly back. Okay. So it's one thing to say don't enforce on that side. I would say don't enforce. They shouldn't enforce certain people on us. But on the other side, I will speak to my generation and say there's a posture you need to have that grants you the, if I will speak, if I'll be woke, I will say the approval. But if I will be traditional, I will say the blessing. That grants you the blessing of the former generation. And believe me, something I have come to that's a bit different. That's why I said I'm a bit different in my view on this. Something I've come to that's a bit different is the truth of the matter is that you need their blessing. You honestly need their blessing. It's a house. They've built a foundation. You are supposed to be the next story in the journey. Thomas Edison said, hey, I could see far because he's standing on the shoulders of giants. So you need them. But they will not just offer you their shoulders anyhow. There's a posture you will take. There's a posture you will take. So the young man also needs, I want to do this, I'm building capacity. He also needs to understand the posture that he will take that will give him the blessing of the so-called godfathers.
Wow. Thank you very much for this beautiful explanation. I'm sure that most of us out there would have a change of heart towards that, because you said it, they need the blessings of these mentors.
And the mentors need us too for their assignment to continue. I'm Yoruba, I'm going back to the Yoruba adages. There's another, the others say that let me just make Yoruba. The Oshatabansi tí a bá fi hàn ọmọ parun ni. So they themselves know, and they are looking for, if the person is truly a good mentor that wants the nation to develop, he's looking for somebody that will be the next torchbearer of his ideologies. So the goal is not to jump into the scene with your own ideologies. The goal is to learn his own ideologies and from it evolve your own ideologies.
Perhaps this mentor has been tutoring this person, giving him mentorship on how to be a good leader whatsoever.
For years.
And
in my little experience, I understand something about these people, mentors, godfathers, fathers. When they see, you don't necessarily jump around hobnobbing for them. Young people make the mistake of seeking out a relationship with them without having the posture. So you just want to be seen around this person. You want to post a picture with this person. You want to, I'm not sure.
It's more than that.
It's a lot more than that. It's something that there's something you do to yourself that makes a father notice you and say,
this guy.
There's something here. When a father notices you like that and he picks you up, he will definitely pick you up because he wants transgenerationalism. He wants the ideology to continue. He wants the project to be achieved. So that's what I mean by there's a posture. That's how you do it. There's a posture of learning. There's a posture of following that makes the person say, okay, I spent 8 years of my life on this project. I can vouch for this person to achieve my agenda.
Thank you very much. And when that person goes for the post, excuse me, performs below the expectation of the people, even the Godfather, what is expected of us?
Yeah, if the person now comes in, that's why I said it's important. If the Godfather had done a good job, the person should do well.
Maybe he derailed.
But if the person derails, then he has. Now, you know, I made a distinction. A Godfather who truly wants, whose agenda is for the nation to truly move forward. If the person begins to derail, there's somebody that relationship, pick up your phone and call him up. I said, Omo, Leleru, Obaje. There are situations where people may be trying to get you to change a certain thing and you are not responding. If you are balanced, the people around you should know who to call. Then as a godfather, as a good godfather, you know that you are not just nominating him, you're not just pushing him there, you are also monitoring what's happening.
Correct.
So the moment you notice that this person is derailing, call him to order. If he doesn't, that's for a godfather that wants I keep saying, it has to be a godfather whose agenda lines up with the agenda of the people, which is the betterment of the nation. So if you find out that the person you have mentored has derailed and is not doing what you expect him to do, pick somebody else. That's it.
Replace him.
And the guy will really get serious if he knows that if he knows that my mentor can pick somebody else. And my career can just die.
Just like that.
Just like that. But if the mentor has, if the mentor has demonstrated another agenda, then there's a tendency for him to feel like, I can always buy my mentor. I can always whatever.
Yeah.
You understand? But if he knows you have a mentor that he's going to break your head, he's not going to listen to he's not going to listen to stories from you. You also will sit up because you continually want his blessings.
Exactly.
As you move forward in your career.
Exactly. Thank you very much. And finally, let's look at feedback from our leaders. How often do we expect feedback from them? Not just coming back home to give us food, to give us this. What kind of feedback do we even have to ask them?
This how do I put it now? This goes back to political education. The kind of feedback you expect is the function of the kind of things is a function of your own knowledge, is a function of your own monitor. If there is enough political education, if the people realize their power, then the people will be truly what they're supposed to be in a democratic setting. A system of checks and balance. Right now, most political leaders can get away with not telling you anything. Because right now, most people are not actually expecting anything. They are not going to ask any serious question from the political. They are not mentally equipped. They are not expecting anything other than a few handouts here and there. So somebody can come and not say anything to you. He knows that it's fine. But in developed nations, people who have traveled, they will tell you that when a congressman or when a senator is going to address his people, he will go to the library and study. Because he knows they are going to really grill him. They would ask him serious questions. They would internalize his body language. They would do a lot of things to him. He knows that those little things are going to matter. And why? Because the electorate is intellectually aware of the process. So I could say that, okay, we should ask for certain this and this and this. But knowing what to ask, how many of us monitor what's going on? How many of us are aware? How many of us can say, okay, at the plenary session in the House yesterday morning, this was what was discussed. This was what was said. What's the impact of what was said on our lives? How many of us are following those things back to back like that? So that's the first thing we need to do. We need to get enough knowledge. We need to be aware of what's happening. Then we need to change our values. Because so many times, I saw a post on Facebook and I laughed, and the guy said, a lot of people will be happy with a non-performing leader for as long as it's from their tribe. So if we, part of the values we need to change is we need to begin to set those kind of things aside and really ask people questions and let our leaders know that, man, there's no you can't hide behind one finger in this matter. We know what a good nation should be. We see your discussions on the house, we see your contributions, and we are not convinced that it will bring us where we want to go, so we would ask you questions. Or rather, we feel that, okay, you have done this one well, this one well, this one well, but you've not addressed this matter. So when the electorate become that kind of people, the leaders will change.
Thank you very much. When we become the inquisitive ones, when we start asking questions, putting checks on them, then we are where we want to be. Thank you very much, Mr. Dapo Lasode, for coming on the show today. And on the last one, a word of advice to our people out there: how to choose a good leader. What do they need to do?
I think we need to look at character. One, we need to look at competence. Two, it's an extremely important thing. We need to look at character and competence. And we need to measure, we need to agree so much on the priorities by which we measure perceived competence. Look at what is the antecedent of this person? What has he done before? What is the appeal that this person has? I mean, because even the Bible says that you should be careful that your good is not evil spoken of. So your competence, your character is important, and at the same time, the perception, what people think of you, is also important. So the idea, don't come and say I'm a good person. They just don't know. No, if you're good, people should know.
Thank you very much, Dapo Lasode. And on this note, we want to thank you all for being part of the show this morning. He has said it all: choosing a good leader, what we need to do. And to all our leaders out there, we will start putting checks on you. Believe you me, that time will come. And I know that Nigerians will become new Nigerians, and we will have a new Nigeria. And God will help us with that. On this note, I want to thank you very much for being part of the show this morning. All thanks to all of you out there. On behalf of the producer of the program, Ulushola Ogunleye, we thank you. On behalf of the Director TV Services, Lasun Uyebayo, we thank you very much. And on behalf of the crew, we appreciate you. My name is Titi Lokwe Ajiboye. Until tomorrow, when we come with you with another interesting topic and another guest and another anchor, want to tell you that we will get there one day. Do not forget, pray for this country, and everything will work out fine for us. Dapo, thank you very much for coming on the show again.
Thank you so much, Ma. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So until tomorrow, have a wonderful day.